On today's Potato Museum show, we're talking about children and potatoes, kids and spuds. And it all started my interest when I actually followed the advice of Louis Pasteur, who said, curiosity and interest immediately aroused when you put into a young person's hands a potato. And there's Louis Pasteur with his granddaughter, very famous French scientist, changed the world. So I got involved with my students in the potato when I challenged them to say what could be so important about the potato that it deserves to be in its own museum. And years later, we were doing lots of different publications in peelings, which is we sent out to friends of the museum. And this one was about children, so we're going to be following that. Children have always been involved in potato harvest and potato growing. I was in Peru with this fat Peruvian family when they were digging their potatoes, and the mother would be, during that break, would be making an oven with the help of her daughter. At least her child was watching and learning how to do this. So she would take the clods from the potato fields and build this little oven, and then she would take the vines from the potatoes, the dried vines, and create a fire inside. It would heat the clods and then pour in some potatoes for lunch. See, the child's still watching and learning how to do this with her little sister there. And then she would crush the whole thing down, and they would roast and bake, and the family would have this for their lunch. And they had a little chili, some eggs and chili sauce that they would do with it. Now, back to Belgium. During World War I, there were no commercial potatoes that were taken away by the occupying forces, so people had to grow their own. And after the war, they had this medal produced to honor all of the home gardeners. And look at the child helping her father plant potatoes. This is a medal that we have. Here's a Belgian potato bag in this company, and they have their son there with all the bags of Binchies. This is fun. This was 18th century, 19th century. This children have always played with potatoes. Look, they're making little potato figures, and then of course they would dry, and they would get all shrunken. Back to Peru. Children have always played with potatoes. And why is that, Meredith?
Well, because they have eyes and eyebrows, and they have a top and a bottom, and they come in all different colors, as do we people. So they were very people-ish, and they were easy to make into an actual toy, or a doll.
There's a little Peruvian girl with her potato dolls. Here's a child with her potato baby, and this was the cover of a book called The Potato Child and Other Stories by Mrs. Charles Woodbury. This was published in San Francisco in the beginning of the 20th century. This tells the story of Elsie, who was an orphan. She was the maidservant of a woman who was a seamstress named Amanda. Amanda didn't show much interest in this child, just had her working hard. And one day the child was down in the cellar getting potatoes, and she found a potato that had a face. She turned it into her child, her toy, her friend. And the story has a really happy ending because the Amanda, the seamstress, heart softened when she saw the love that this child was giving to this potato child, her potato child, and they had a happier ending. Children have always been featured in postcards. This one is St. Patrick's Day. Look at this little girl sitting on a big potato with her heart. Here's kids again. They're roasting potatoes. This is in France, and they're getting ready for the meal. The story of Opal Whiteley is something very important to what we've done. Opal Whiteley was she's all over the internet, by the way. She was an orphan again at 6 years old. She was given to a family of lumberjacks, and she lived in 12 different Oregon lumber, what?
I don't know.
Timber operations. She was very lonely, but she made friends with potatoes, among other things in nature. And Meredith's going to read a little bit from her journal. The journal, by the way, was, her diary was destroyed by, or was torn up by a nasty stepchild, and later, years later, that she was able to put it together and get it published.
Although the story of Opal is full of contradictions and whatnot, there's lovely material here. She wrote, as a child, theoretically, "Today, the grandpa dug potatoes in the field. I followed along after. I picked them up and piled them in piles. Some of them were very plump, and all the time I was picking up potatoes, I did have conversations with them. Potatoes are very interesting folks. I think they must see a lot of what is going on in the earth. They have so many eyes. Too, I did have thinks of all their growing days there in the ground, and all the things they did here. And after, I did count the eyes that every potato did have, and their numbers were in blessings."
Okay, we're going to try to hand this camera over to Meredith very carefully.
Because
We want to show you some
you'd be
things.
in big trouble
Can
if...
you get it there? You got it? I'm just
Here
going to
we
scroll.
go.
I'm just going to scroll through a few more things here and just show this one. This has been published many different times. Look at their little girl standing there.
It is a lovely book.
lumber camp.
Poor Opal. Well, we don't want to go into her later years.
So,
I think she was a girl on the spectrum.
Yeah.
One of those super bright
But
but,
they did-
somewhat odd people.
They didn't know it then.
And look at this wonderful book.
Yeah, this is our potato museum in a book, and a bunch of different children are pictured in this book. So we're going to just see. Of course, children have always been involved in.
Who's Dundee?
He's Dundee, a little Korean boy, a little refugee boy. There's a race game. He was popular in the 50s. Look, children playing with a hot potato toy. Right? Of course, children have always been involved in the harvest, as we were talking about.
That's one of our favorite
This
cards.
is just a beautiful trade card.
Yeah.
Look, children. These children are all dressed up, and they're
Playing with a potato bug.
a potato bug. And German kids were encouraged to go and pick potato bugs on the school grounds, near the school fields. Here's this. This is another one of our favorites. This is one of the early magazines, potato magazines. I think it's volume 1, issue 1. It's showing a girl digging potatoes.
Looks like
there.
my mom.
Yeah, look at
Little
that.
girl.
And of course, kids have done all sorts of work. Here they are cutting. He's cutting seed potatoes. And this little boy was used to advertise Maine potatoes. This was an in-store advertisement, but he was a real person, and he went around and did the promotions. And here, this is one of our favorites. This is a place of Italy we used to go.
Yeah.
There he is helping, or I don't know if he's helping, but he's out there with the
Well,
family.
he's sitting there
digging
anyway.
potatoes. We have done programs. Let's just move over here. We've done programs in schools for years, and very successful. Here's Meredith.
Oh, look, that's me.
Yeah, with a big.
I always talked about cooking.
So one of the schools, I just happened to come across this. This is a letter sent from the teacher, and she said, "I want to thank you for being part of our Literature Week, 1989, here at Crofton at Woods Elementary. I truly think that this one was the best ever.
Yay!
Delighted with your presentation." And look,
And
all
look at
the-
us, we're fabulous.
all
Oh,
these-
look, little potato
yeah,
faces.
these kids wrote. So these,
little potato faces.
I'm gonna have to see my hands to see. So they did lots
Ooh.
of thank you notes and did wonderful drawings.
That's great.
And I want to show you just more. So
Whoa.
another school.
A scary potato.
Yeah, they sent us some space potatoes. Look at these. Can you see them?
Yeah.
Look at this.
I don't like them. Oh,
They're
Whoa.
just great. And we have so many. We have a whole file
well,
of
this is the Potato Museum, after all.
whole
the
file of
world's
drawings of
largest collection.
of Japanese children doing similar drawings of potatoes. So that's just a sample. Look at this. Look at this inside and outside of a submarine. A potato submarine. Look at that. All right. So I'm going to take the camera back.
In a yellow sun.
Yeah, I'm going to take it back. I think we've covered the subject pretty well. I did want to show you one more thing. I love this one. Look at this. Look at this kid.
Help! I can't get out! Help! Who is that?
She's on the back of that peelings that we were just talking about. Did you know several studies have shown that children consistently choose potatoes when asked to name their favorite vegetable? We've enjoyed showing you our collection of Kids and Spuds. children and potatoes, a really important subject for us. And thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, and we're going to do more, by the way, on Opal Whiteley. She gets her own program, we hope. Bye.